K.A. Bullet's footballing channel.
Hurry up, tell me why I'm here.
A few days ago, all of the 2026 FIFA World Cup squads have been released. And now, I will be reacting to them. Every single country needs a squad to win the FIFA World Cup. Football, or as some countries say, soccer, is a team sport. Not this team! This image was AI generated. Now, here's my reaction to all 48 2026 FIFA World Cup squads, which have anywhere from 23 to 26 players. Now, I'll be beginning this video with Czechia, as they are the first team shown on Wikipedia. And here's their first World Cup squad in 20 years. Well, I wasn't too surprised, although there are a lot of players who are playing their club football in the Czech League, which you can't say about most other UEFA national teams of comparable ability. I did wonder where Alex Kral was, but I mean, he wasn't really in the Czech team this season, and also Mataj Vidra, but he wasn't that good this season either. Overall, I'm not too surprised by the Czech team here. Now onto one of the co-hosts, Mexico, who will be hoping to win Group A with these 26 players in the squad. Mexico has been really unfortunate when it comes to injuries leading up to this World Cup, so a lot of players only got their spot due to injuries. But Guillermo Ochoa is back. Maybe he can play his 6th FIFA World Cup on home soil. And also, they're captained by Edson Alvarez, whose parent club West Ham just got relegated. And also don't forget, he's probably going to earn his 100th cap at this World Cup. And also, they were able to get a few players off the USA. Despite the fact that some of their players were unable to make it due to injury, this squad should be sufficient to get Mexico to do well at this World Cup. Now on to South Africa, where they'll be playing their first FIFA World Cup since 2010, where they were the hosts. And now once again, they're in the host group playing the opening match. And here's the 26 players they're going to be bringing to this World Cup. Ronwen Williams was literally nominated for the Yashin Award when he was playing his club football in Africa. And also, as you can see here, most of the players actually play their club football in South Africa. This is not seen as a weakness for this national team. But don't forget, your main striker is Lyle Foster, someone who just got relegated with Burnley. And also, the national team is not in the best form right now. But judging by the quality of players available, the 26 players picked were not bad picks, from what I know. Now onto South Korea squad, the final in Group A, and this is the 26-man squad picked. Well, I don't know that much about their team either, although the number of players in the Korean League is a bit less than I would have thought. But the players picked, I wasn't surprised by at all, so this squad makes sense, from what I know. Now here's Bosnia and Herzegovina, the team that upset Italy to make it to the World Cup. Let's see who they brought to America. Here's Bosnia's 26 players. No one really came as a surprise, except for maybe dual nationals who declared for Bosnia at the last minute, but this squad should be fine. And also, Edin Dzeko is the only player from the 2014 squad. Now onto Canada, one of the other co-hosts in this tournament. And here's their, well, only 25-man squad at the moment, as Marcelo Flores withdrew due to injury. I don't know who has replaced him yet. And also, Alphonso Davies is still recovering from injury, so that might be an issue. But I do think that Canada can get their very first World Cup win with this squad. Now onto Qatar squad, which for the first time they actually qualified for the FIFA World Cup rather than just hosting it. And here's the 26 players they'll be bringing to North America, with many playing in Qatar. Well, obviously, 25 out of 26 players play their club football there, but many of them were in the 2022 squad, losing all 3 games on home soil. But I mean, other than the fact that there's some new naturalized players, I can't really be surprised by this Qatar team. Now on to Switzerland, which on paper have the strongest team in Group B, and here's their squad, which I'm also not too surprised by. I'm surprised that they couldn't get Xherdan Shaqiri to come out of retirement. After all, that guy always performs for Switzerland. Now on to Brazil's squad, where I actually have something to say, rather than just say, oh yeah, that's fine. Here's Brazil's team. And here's the 26 players that Carlo Ancelotti picked to try to get Brazil their 6th star. Firstly, the starting 11 mostly makes sense, but a lot of players from Flamengo were actually picked, which I find pretty interesting. I was also a little surprised by the pick of Danilo Santos from Botafogo, although, off camera, I did predict that a Botafogo player would go to this World Cup. I was proven correct, but not in the way that I expected. And also, don't forget that Brazil technically have 2 players playing at Zenit in their starting 11. Why? Although, Kayan, number 26, only got his spot because both Rodrigo and Estevão are injured right now. But also, don't forget that this is going to be Neymar's last World Cup. But let's be real here. Neymar has not played very well for Santos. He only made the squad for marketing purposes. And also got the number 10 shirt for the same reason. And also, Brazil's 3rd choice keeper, Wavin, what's he still doing at the World Cup? Palmeiras clearly don't think he's good enough for their team. And also, don't forget, Bento exists. He's the goalkeeper that plays on Ronaldo's team. Although, maybe there are bad memories. He did concede 4 goals against Argentina. And I also heard Hugo Souza can save penalties. Brazil's squad isn't perfect. I mean, don't forget, João Pedro was left out. But this squad can do something at this World Cup. Now on to Haiti's squad. Most wouldn't expect Haiti to make it to this World Cup. But here's the 26 players that they're bringing to the World Cup. Also another squad that doesn't really surprise me. There are a lot of dual nationals, but that doesn't surprise me. Although I would like to mention the 3rd choice goalkeeper, Diogo. He scored a hilarious own goal, yet he's going to the World Cup. I don't think he will play, but the fact that a goalkeeper who scored a hilarious own goal will be going to the World Cup just shows me how little squad depth there is. Now on to the Morocco team, one that's expected to do well at this World Cup, and here's the 26-man squad. I was surprised to not see En-Nesyri, but considering how good Morocco have been recently, I don't think they're exactly losing out on not including him in the squad. I took a look at their recently called up players. Some pretty quality players missed out on this squad. So this one right here must be good enough to do well in the World Cup again. Now here's Scotland, who are going to their first World Cup since 1998. And this is the 26-man squad that they're bringing. What does surprise me is, how did Ollie McBurney not make the squad over Lyndon Dykes, who scored 3 goals in the championship this season? Ollie McBurney just sent Hull to the Premier League. Billy Gilmore is also someone that deserved to make the squad, but he's injured, so his exclusion is understandable. But even with this squad, I do think that Scotland do have a chance of making it to the knockout round for the very first time. Now here's Australia. Let's see who the Socceroos brought to the World Cup. Well, here's their 26-man squad. I mean, not the best players, but Australia's squad never exactly have the best players. I wasn't too surprised to see any of these players either. Although, Christian Volpato was on track to play for Italy before declaring for Australia at the last minute. And right above him, you'll see Harry Souttar, who in my Fate of Leicester City video, I said that he wasn't playing for Australia. Yet, he plays the very next game for them. The reason he wasn't playing for Australia was due to injury. Well, if he plays well at the World Cup, he might get signed by another team for the same reason he got signed for Leicester in the first place. Although, overall, this Australia squad is fine, from what I know. And now here's the Paraguay squad. Paraguay, for the first time since 2010, can bring a squad to the FIFA World Cup. And these are the 26 players that they picked. What surprised me is, how did a player from Portsmouth in the championship make the squad? Quite a lot of players in Brazil. That does make sense, same with Argentina, as well as a few players from Paraguay itself. This squad seems fine, from what I know. Now here's Turkey's national team where, for the first time since 2002, they're at the World Cup, and here's their 26 players. All of whom also make sense to be in the team. I can't find any issues with this Turkish team whatsoever. Although predicting Turkey in any international tournament is very hard, because they seem to do the opposite of what everyone thinks. And now for the last of the three hosts, the USA, who will be hosting the most World Cup matches, and here is their 26-man squad. I was a little bit upset at first about learning that Diego Luna, who was actually played a lot by Mauricio Pochettino, was excluded, but he is injured, so I do understand now. Other than that, I don't really have any problems with this USA team, and they should be able to do fine at this home World Cup. Now, here's Curacao, the smallest country to ever qualify for the World Cup. And now, this is their squad. Not exactly a squad stacked with quality, although Leandro Bacuna, the captain, plays in the second tier of Turkish football. Now, here's Ecuador, who are expected to concede very few goals. And this squad will be able to accomplish just that. It did surprise me that I saw a player named Yaboa, but then I went into his Wikipedia page and figured out his mother's Ecuadorian, so his spot in the squad does make sense. About forwards, here's Ener Valencia, of course. The captain and probably the only goal threat at this World Cup. But overall, this squad does make sense. Now on to Germany's squad where... who'd they pick? They picked these 26 players. Not the best Germany squad that has ever existed, but to be fair, not all of Germany's players are quality. Quality in some parts of the pitch, but not others. After all, who's starting up front? And also, Leroy Sané was picked even though he had a terrible season with Galatasaray. And in 2018, he had a great season with Man City and then didn't get picked. That's very confusing. And also, Said Al-Mala didn't make the squad, although he is uncapped at the moment. Like Brazil, this squad is good enough. It's not perfect, but they're good enough to finally get out of the World Cup group stage for the first time since they won the thing back in 2014. Now onto a team that hasn't played in the World Cup since 2014, Côte d'Ivoire. And here's their 26-man squad. A lot of players are dual nationals, but that's to be expected for Côte d'Ivoire these days. This squad is fine and should be able to get out of the group stage for the first time ever. There are some quality players who missed out, and one thing I was surprised by is Alban Lafont playing for Côte d'Ivoire. I did not know that he was able to play for them, and I also thought he was good enough for France at one point. But from what I know, this squad is fine. Now on to Japan's squad. This is a squad that's expected to do well at this World Cup, and here's the 26-man squad. I was very surprised to learn that both Takumi Minamino and Kaoru Mitoma both failed to make this squad. How? But this squad is still good. And they should be able to get out of the group stage with this squad. Now on to the Netherlands squad where... who's in the squad? These 26 players are. Most of these players seem fine. And Jeremy Frimpong thought that he was in the squad. His name does not appear on this list. Although there's quite a lot of players in the Premier League in this squad, including Serencio Somerville, who not only is uncapped, he got relegated with West Ham. But I mean, if he's in the Netherlands squad, getting relegated was clearly not his fault. Ligt and De Vrij aren't in the squad, but the Netherlands currently have a lot of good center backs. So their omissions are fine. Squad is not perfect, but it's good enough. Now on to Sweden, who only qualified for this World Cup through the Nations League. And here's the 26-man squad for Sweden. Graham Potter picked these 26 players. A lot of them are fine, although 2 out of 3 of your goalkeepers play in the championship. That's not a good sign that there's a lot of talent in between the sticks. At first I wondered, who is Ken Sema? And what is he doing in the squad when he plays for Paphos? But then I remembered, after looking at his Wikipedia page, that he's actually one of the players that Graham Potter had at Östersunds. So this inclusion actually makes sense. It's another case of the squad's not perfect, but it's good enough. And here's Tunisia's squad in a few moments. Well, here's their 26-man squad. I did expect some of their more experienced players to make the squad, but maybe they're just not good enough anymore, so this squad is probably fine. Although, Sami Khedira's younger brother is in the squad. Well, considering that they're in one of the groups of death, let's see how they do at this World Cup. Now, onto Belgium's national team. How do they do in terms of squad selection? Well, here's Belgium's team where all of the old players seem to have been picked. Belgium, your golden generation is past its best, if they're even still playing. For example, Axel Witsel, who just got relegated with Girona. And also, Mika Guts should be in the squad, but he's not, even though he had a great season with Ajax. Overall, this squad selection is quite bad. Belgium, aren't you trying to win the World Cup? With this squad, I don't see that. Sure, you can win the group, but you're supposed to pick a squad to try to win the World Cup, not just get out of the group. That might have been your intention, but what I'm seeing, I see lots of informed players not included and lots of not informed players included in the squad. Now on to Egypt's team, where they'll be looking to win their first ever FIFA World Cup match, and here's Egypt's team. Just about right for an Egypt team, although Hamza Abdul Karim, the guy wearing the number 9 shirt, was born in 2008. I feel old now. And also, why did you bring 4 goalkeepers? You're only gonna need 3! And then I looked through the squad again and didn't see Mohamed El Neni. Why did you not bring the ex-Arsenal midfielder, Mohamed El Neni? He might just not be good enough anymore. Although, Mo Salah and a few other players will become the first Egyptians ever to play at 2 different FIFA World Cups. Now onto Iran's national team, where there was doubt if they would even be able to go to the World Cup, considering events going on relating to their country. But I'm glad that these 26 players, as well as the team's management and staff, were able to make it to this World Cup. Surprised to not see Sardar Azmoun, but Iran do have a history of producing good strikers, so that's not too much of a loss. But I don't really know too much about the other players who missed out, so I'll say the squad is fine. Now on to OFC's sole representative at this World Cup, New Zealand. And here's their 26-man squad, among the first to be announced, where both Chris Wood and Tommy Smith, who plays for Braintree Town in the National League South. How does a player playing non-league football make it to the World Cup? But Chris Wood and Tommy Smith were both in the 2010 FIFA World Cup squad. And I don't really have much to say about the rest of the New Zealand squad. Overall, this squad is fine. After all, there isn't very much squad depth. And now, onto Cabo Verde, one of the underdogs at this World Cup. This squad has a lot of players playing in lower divisions and also a lot of dual nationals. Overall, this squad is fine. Although, note that Ryan Mensch, their captain, plays for Ugnu in the Turkish second tier. How does this second division club have 2 different players captaining their country at this World Cup? Although, this squad does make sense, but I would like to mention Bebe, who in 2010 signed for Man United, and Sir Alex Ferguson was mocked for signing him. Bebe ended up playing for Cabo Verde. Imagine if Bebe made this squad! But the players that were picked ahead of him probably deserve their spot, so I don't have too much of a problem with this. So Saudi Arabia, I expected their national team to be a little bit better by now, because I thought all of the star players moving to the Saudi Pro League would improve how good the national team would become. But here's the 26 players, just about what I'd expect for Saudi Arabia, with 25 of the players playing in the Saudi Pro League! I thought it'd be all 26, but Saud Abdelhamid plays for Lens in France, being the only player who plays abroad. But I know the squad selection for Saudi Arabia is fine. Now on to one of the favorites, Spain. Let's see which 26 players they're going to try to win the World Cup with. It's these 26 players on screen here. Firstly, there are no Real Madrid players in the squad. Luis de la Fuente really didn't want to pick any Real Madrid players. But to be fair, Real Madrid did finish second to Barca again. 8 Barca players made the squad. How does playing for Real Madrid hurt your international career? And who is Victor Munoz? I did a little bit of research about him, and I could not see why he was picked here. I did some research for Borja Iglesias, the number 26, but he is the highest goal-scoring Spanish player in La Liga. Other than the fact that there's no Real Madrid players in the squad, this squad is actually pretty good. De La Fuente not bringing any Real Madrid players may work in his favor. Now on to Uruguay, the winners of the very first FIFA World Cup in 1930. This is the squad they'll be bringing to the 2026 tournament. Overall, the team is in iffy form. And also, from some of the clubs that you might see them playing for, you might be able to see that Uruguay don't have a lot of squad depth. But Uruguay have historically been a country that always punched above their weight in international football. So, Uruguay might do something at this World Cup. I think this squad selection is fine. Well, I mean, Uruguay doesn't have that much squad depth when compared to Brazil and Argentina, so this squad selection is fine. Now on to France, one of the other favorites to win this World Cup. And here is their squad. Of course, a potential World Cup winning squad. I have not seen any issues with this France team. Camavinga has been left out, but that's because France have so much squad depth that they can do something like that. I have no issues with this France team, and this is a potential World Cup winning team. Now on to Iraq, who had to play 21 games to qualify for this World Cup. And then when they finally get to the World Cup, they get put in the group of death. And here's the squad that they'll be trying to navigate that group of death with. And I thought that some of the more experienced players would have made the squad, but this squad is probably fine. Now on to Norway's national team, where finally Erling Haaland will be able to play at a World Cup. But it's not just Erling Haaland. There are 25 other Norwegian players in this squad. And after checking the other Norwegian players, yeah, Norway's squad is about right. There are no issues with this Norway team. This was good team selection. Now on to the rightful AFCON champions, Senegal. Let's see which 26 players they brought to the World Cup, and here they are. And also, after checking the other players in the team, yeah, Senegal also picked the right players for their squad. Not only is Group I, the group of death, all 4 teams actually made good choices when selecting their squad for this World Cup. Now on to Algeria, who couldn't exactly pick the best squad, but that's because of injuries to many of their goalkeepers, one of whom was Zidane's son, but he recovered in time to make it to this squad. The outfield players are generally fine, so this squad selection is also fine. And now, Argentina, the defending world champions. And this is the squad that they'll be lining up with to defend the World Cup. It's not as strong as the World Cup squad they won with in 2022, but Messi's back to play in his 6th FIFA World Cup, and the players surrounding him are still quality, so this squad is good, but I mean, it's not as good as the squad that won the World Cup. Now, here's Austria's 2026 FIFA World Cup squad. But there's only 25 players here because Ralf Rangnick refused to replace an injured player. But the players in this squad are generally fine. At first, I wondered how Sasa Kalajic made the squad, but I learned that he was actually the highest goal-scoring Austrian in the Austrian Bundesliga. So, his inclusion is fine, although he only scored 6 goals in the league. Now on to Jordan in their very first FIFA World Cup. And this is the squad that they're bringing. One of their best players, Al Naimat, is not in the squad, but that's due to injury, so that's not really the manager's fault for not picking him. But aside from Al Naimat not being in the squad, I don't really know about the team, so I guess this team is fine. Now on to the Colombia team, a team where I know a bit more about the players, and here's their squad. This squad is mostly fine as well. John Duran may be their most naturally talented forward, but he has an attitude problem, so I completely understand why he's not in the squad. And instead, Luis Suarez. This one is a Colombian, will be starting up front. But overall, Colombia's squad for this World Cup is fine. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. Now on to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, partaking in their second ever FIFA World Cup, and first under this name. And here's their squad. Not the best squad on paper, but many of the players are good. And also, due to an injury, one of their better players was unable to make the squad. But overall, for the players they have to pick from, this squad is fine. Although, if you take a look, Gael Kakuta is in the squad. Gael Kakuta's transfer to Chelsea put Chelsea in a lot of trouble many years ago. But here he is, going to a World Cup. Now on to Portugal's squad. Portugal are also one of the favorites to win the tournament, and here is the squad that Roberto Martinez picked for Cristiano Ronaldo's last World Cup. And don't forget, this is Ronaldo's 6th FIFA World Cup, and also has a good opportunity to score in this World Cup. He could do the unthinkable and score at 6 different FIFA World Cups. But the squad that Portugal picked is actually pretty good. I checked the other players who didn't make the squad, but yep, this is a good squad. Roberto Martinez made the correct calls for this team, at least in my eyes. Now on to another World Cup debutant, Uzbekistan, who for the very first time picked a squad for the FIFA World Cup. And the squad picked is good enough. People would have only really have heard of Husanov or maybe Shomurodov, so most people wouldn't even know the majority of the team's players. But from what I know, this squad is fine. Now onto Croatia's squad, where it's yet another World Cup squad that mostly makes sense. Luka Modric is of course in the heart of midfield, where he could probably earn his 200th cap at the World Cup. But in general, all of the players that made the squad deserve to, and the players that were left out, I mean, maybe they just weren't good enough. So this squad is fine. Now for the last big team at this World Cup, England. What do I think about this squad? What is this squad? What is this squad? Okay, a lot of it is fine. Jordan Pickford in net, hard to go wrong there. But where's Harry Maguire? Where is Luke Shaw? Where is Trent Alexander-Arnold? Leaving out both Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw is a disgrace. Why are they not in the squad? Other people have complained about a lack of Phil Foden and Cole Palmer, but I understand why they're not in the squad. Phil Foden doesn't play well for England, and Cole Palmer is actually injured. And also, I can sort of understand Trent not being included because the England manager never seems to use him correctly, but he plays for Real Madrid. Miles Lewis-Skelly and Adam Wharton might also feel that they deserve to be in this World Cup squad. Same with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But it's not just the players that were excluded that's a problem. It's a lot of the players that were included in the squad. Like, what is Jed Spence doing in the England squad? He almost got relegated with Spurs. And also, Jordan Henderson. What is he still doing in the England squad? I get he's experienced, but other players could play in his position better than him now. Dan Burn, I don't entirely understand why he's in the England squad. Still better to have Harry Maguire in the squad. Initially, I thought about why were both Ollie Watkins and Ivan Toney included in the squad, but then after I did some research, their squad inclusions actually do make sense. And also, other people have complained about both Ebereki Eze and Noni Madueke being in the squad, but I mean, I might look a little biased as an Arsenal fan, but Phil Foden doesn't play well for England, and Cole Palmer is out of form. Both Madueke and Eze are in form. Some good decisions were made by Thomas Tuchel, but the exclusion of Maguire and Shaw, absolute disgrace. How could you exclude them after the great season they had with Man United? I'm not a Man United fan, and I am extremely upset about these two players not being in the squad. These controversial squad picks will probably result in England getting eliminated sooner than they should be. And if you want to mention football coming home, it's not coming home with this squad. Now on to Ghana's squad, where I do have something to say, but not as much as England. The squad is mostly fine from what I know, except for the fact that Mohamed Kudus isn't in it, but that's due to him being injured, so that's not the manager's fault. But why was Andre Ayew left out of the squad? He's one of your greatest ever players. Why is he not in the squad? And his brother Jordan, who just got relegated with Leicester City, is the captain. Aside from no Andre Ayew, this team is fine. Although I don't see them accomplishing much at this World Cup. Now on to Panama, the last team at this World Cup. And their squad is fine. I don't know too much about their team, but from what I know about their team, this squad selection is fine. Now, that was my reaction to all 48 squads selected for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. I, of course, had differing levels of opinion for each team, but most teams selected a good team for this World Cup. But that's just my reaction today, before the World Cup has started. Only time will tell how good these players will end up being at this year's World Cup.
Press the like button down below if you like this video, and subscribe to this channel if you want to watch more videos like this one.
And I'm not even done making videos about relegated squads. I will be making the rest of the videos discussing relegated teams soon enough. Although don't forget, I'm not discussing every team that got relegated, only the big enough teams. And also, since this video is my reaction to all of the World Cup squads, now since all of the squads have been announced, I will finally be making World Cup predictions. That video will be coming out soon enough. Unfortunately, the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine is still going on. The Ukrainian people just wanted to live in peace and have freedom. But this common dream was ruined by the tyrant and bully, Vladimir Putin, who not only brought lots of devastation to Ukraine, but also brought a lot of Russia to ruin. Because of his terrible policies, one of the side effects of Putin starting this unjustified war is that Russia cannot play in the 2026 FIFA World Cup, and thus why the country was shown in black on the map that I showed you all earlier. Black meant the country was either banned from the World Cup or withdrew. I here on the K-Bullets footballing channel stand with Ukraine in their struggle against Vladimir Putin's tyranny and recognize Ukraine's true borders as shown by this map of Ukraine, which shows Crimea, the Donbass, and all of the Zaporizhia, Kherson, and Kharkiv oblasts.
Слава Україні! Героям слава! Нехай швидше дарується Україні перемога! Glory to Ukraine! Glory to the heroes! May Ukraine be granted victory very soon.
Even more unfortunately, this is not the only international war going on. And this international war is why there was a lot of trouble in Iran's national football team being able to compete in this year's FIFA World Cup. Don't forget, there's still an authoritarian leader trying to keep his people down. And when many people talk about the national team, they support the national team because of the players, not because of the regime that rules over the country. In opposition to this regime, I support